Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. It only took one preseason game for the Washington Commanders to have their most glaring weakness ripped wide open for all to see. Going into the offseason, fans had already been nervous about the lack of elite depth at the edge rusher position. That anxiety eased a bit when new General Manager Adam Peters made a splash by signing future Hall of Famer Von Miller. But fast forward to an ugly preseason defeat against the New England Patriots, and all those old concerns came roaring back. Miller didn't even suit up. Frankie Louvu, expected to wreak havoc off the edge this year, was also absent. Dorrance Armstrong Jr., their most reliable every-down defensive end, wasn't there either. Second-year promise Javonte Jean-Baptiste missing in action. Without that quartet, Washington's pass rush looked toothless. And that's the issue. When you strip away the starters, the Commanders' defensive front on the edge suddenly looks like a house without a foundation. The Commanders needed someone, anyone from their reserve group to step up in Foxborough and make a statement. That statement never came. The team rotated through different looks, starting with free agent signing Jacob Martin alongside veteran Clelin Ferrell. Martin has been seen as the best bet among the depth guys, but against the Patriots, he failed to make that case convincingly. Then came the youth injection. Andre Jones Jr., TJ Maguranyanga, and even some bigger bodies like Jalen Holmes got their turns trying to set the edge. The experiment extended to athletic smaller players like Tyler Owens and Kane Medrano, who occasionally lined up outside, but no matter the combination, the result was the same. Little to no pressure from the outside, no consistent containment, and an inability to disrupt rhythm passes. It's preseason, sure, but it's also a first impression. And in the NFL, first impressions for fringe players can be career-defining moments they cannot afford to squander. Across 4 quarters of preseason football, the Commanders' edge defenders managed just 2 legitimate flashes of pressure, and neither ended in a sack. Andre Jones Jr. delivered one of them by cutting inside with a burst of speed, leaving offensive tackle Demontre Jacobs flat-footed. Jalen Holmes provided the other, working a nice 2-man stunt with defensive tackle Sheldon Day that forced the quarterback to hurry his throw. These moments were like finding an oasis in the desert, refreshing but far too rare to make a real difference. The only sack of the night came from interior rookie standout Johnny Newton, who collapsed a pocket in the first quarter and jarred the ball loose. Martin recovered the fumble, but it was a reminder that interior pressure, not edge heat, carried Washington's pass rush. Without Newton's play, the Commanders leave Gillette Stadium without a single takeaway, and that says a lot about how lifeless their edge presence truly was. It's hard to overstate how much the absence of top-tier edge talent showed up on the tape. Every defensive coordinator knows you can mask a lot of weaknesses inside with scheme stunts and blitz packages, but you can manufacture elite edge speed out of thin air. Washington tried to rotate personnel, disguise fronts, and even send safeties to crash the edge, but the results were underwhelming. The Patriots quarterbacks often had a clean outside pocket to climb into, neutralizing any inside push. Worse still, the run defense suffered because edge players failed to set firm boundaries, allowing running backs to bounce plays outside with alarming ease. It's one thing to give up yards between the tackles. That's where the big boys win and lose battles. But when your edge players are losing contain, you're basically handing over free real estate. And in the NFL, free real estate usually turns into points on the scoreboard very quickly. Now, in fairness, the Commanders weren't rolling with their actual starting lineup. Von Miller brings Hall of Fame pedigree and unmatched big game savvy. Frankie Louvu is a versatile disruptor. Dorrance Armstrong Jr. is a rock-solid every-down force, and Javonte Jean-Baptiste has the kind of raw tools that make position coaches salivate. With all 4 healthy and active, this defense looks a lot different. But that's not really the point here. The point is depth. The kind of depth that makes contenders resilient when injuries inevitably strike. Over the course of a 17-game grind, you can't expect your starting edge rushers to play 90% of the snaps without losing juice. Fresh legs matter in the 4th quarter, in December, and especially in January. And right now, Washington doesn't seem to have anyone ready to be that reliable next man up. who can keep the pressure cooker boiling when the starters need a breather. The problem with banking solely on star power is that it assumes a best-case scenario where injuries, fatigue, and regression never happen. Reality doesn't play that game. Look around the league. Teams that win in January often have rotational edge players who can step in without the defense missing a beat. That's how the Eagles keep waves of pass rushers coming, or how the 49ers stay relentless into the fourth quarter. The Commanders, on the other hand, look like they have a steep drop-off once you get past the first names on the depth chart. Jacob Martin could still be that bridge between starters and reserves if he finds his rhythm, but after this preseason debut, the confidence meter isn't exactly spiking. For the young guys like Jones, Magoranyanga, and Holmes, the opportunity is right there, but opportunity means nothing if you don't grab it with both hands. And make no mistake, these preseason games are exactly where careers are won and lost for fringe players. Coaches don't just want to see a flash here or there. They want consistent disruption, disciplined run fits, and the kind of motor that makes offensive coordinators adjust mid-game. Right now, Washington's edge depth is giving them none of that. A single win in August means nothing in the standings, but it can mean everything for a coaching staff trying to figure out who belongs in the trenches come September. Defensive line coach Ryan Kerrigan, a former star edge himself, must be pulling his hair out watching so many near misses and soft contain plays. He knows what it looks like when an edge player forces quarterbacks into bad decisions or runs down plays from behind. He's also smart enough to know that in the NFL, hesitation gets you replaced. And some of these guys are hesitating far too often. The reality is you can't fake speed or bend off the edge. You either have the burst to win the corner or the technique to counter when a tackle shuts you down, preferably both. Right now, Washington's depth players don't seem to have either consistently. They're either getting locked up in hand fights too long, losing leverage against the run, or simply not firing off the snap with the urgency needed. That's the kind of stuff that gets exposed in live game reps, and it got exposed badly in Foxborough. Fans will point to the return of Miller, Luvu, and Armstrong as the cure-all, and sure, that'll help a ton. But what happens if one of them goes down in Week 6? Or if the team is facing a no-huddle offense in a playoff push and needs fresh legs to finish the job? Right now, that's a question without a good answer. It's only August, but the warning lights are already flashing. The Commanders' brain trust can downplay this all they want, chalking it up to vanilla preseason schemes or missing starters, but the tape doesn't lie. It shows a defensive edge group that's a bad injury or two away from being completely overmatched. It shows backups who didn't seize their chance to make a name for themselves. And it shows a team that might need to consider an outside addition before the regular season kicks off, if they want to avoid being gashed off the edge. Adam Peters has already shown he's willing to make moves. Signing Von Miller proved that, but this might require another calculated gamble. Whether that's a veteran pickup, a trade, or giving more reps to a promising but raw youngster, something has to change. Because if it doesn't, this flaw won't just be preseason chatter. It'll be a regular season problem. Washington fans deserve better than watching their defense get washed out to the edges, and the coaching staff knows it. This team is trying to rebrand itself as a gritty, physical, playoff caliber squad under new leadership. And that starts with dominating the line of scrimmage. Right now, the inside guys are holding up their end of the bargain, but the outside simply isn't matching that energy. The Commanders don't need every reserve edge rusher to become a Pro Bowler overnight, but they do need someone to step up and be that reliable secondary threat, someone who can come in on 3rd and long, pin their ears back and wreck a drive. Someone who can hold the edge on 2nd and 5 and force a run back into the teeth of the defense. Until that happens, this team will be one injury away from watching their playoff hopes slip right out of the pocket. And that's the harsh truth preseason just served up. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest move. We want to hear from you. Rumors are swirling out of Washington, and you know how it is. When there's smoke in the NFL, fans start wondering just how big the fire really is. Word on the street is that Commanders head coach Dan Quinn, usually seen as a steady and composed leader, may have had one of those moments where the pressure cooker finally blew its lid. Multiple whispers coming from people close to the situation suggest that during a closed-door meeting last week, Quinn's patience snapped. leading to a heated confrontation with a key player on the roster. The name of that player isn't officially out yet, but the NFL rumor mill has been busy connecting dots, looking at recent practice rotations, and picking apart body language in press conferences. Could this be the first sign of a rift inside the locker room? Or is it just the media and fans running wild with half-heard chatter? What makes this story so intriguing is the fact that Dan Quinn isn't exactly known for emotional blow-ups. Sure, he's passionate on the sideline, and we've all seen him bark at officials or demand more from his players during tough games. But insiders say this was different. More personal, more direct, and more final. The word enough was reportedly used, followed by some variation of "he needs to go," which has everyone wondering if this was a rare glimpse into Quinn's absolute breaking point. The timing of all this only adds to the speculation, coming right after a stretch where the Commanders have been struggling to find rhythm both offensively and defensively. While Quinn's defensive mind is respected league-wide, some are quietly questioning whether tension between the coaching staff and certain veterans could be creating invisible cracks in the foundation. And let's be honest, in a league where even small conflicts can spiral, this could become a defining moment. Adding fuel to the fire are reports of a tense practice session earlier this week. Several beat reporters who were on site noted that one veteran player, possibly the one at the center of the storm, was unusually disengaged, standing apart from the group during drills and avoiding direct interaction with Quinn. These moments, while subtle, are exactly the kind of visual cues that lead fans to start speculating online. Some even claim they saw Quinn pull this player aside for what appeared to be an intense animated exchange before the veteran abruptly walked away. Social media has already exploded with theories, with fans freeze-framing videos from practice to analyze facial expressions and body language like they're breaking down a Zapruder film. Whether this is a simple case of competitive frustration boiling over or something more significant that could impact the roster remains to be seen. But in a sport where trust between coach and player is everything, these whispers have a way of growing louder. One theory making the rounds is that the tension may be linked to contract frustrations. NFL veterans, especially those in key positions, are no strangers to leveraging their performance into negotiations. And if a player feels undervalued, it can create the perfect storm for disagreements. Sources have hinted that the player and their question might have been pushing for an extension or more guaranteed money, and Quinn, focused on team culture and discipline, may have taken issue with how that push was being handled. It's not uncommon for coaches to clash with players over priorities, especially when a season feels like it's teetering between success and disappointment. Some insiders suggest this isn't the first time Quinn has had to manage personality conflicts behind closed doors, but this might be the first one to spill into public view. If the relationship is truly fractured, we could be looking at a parting of ways sooner than anyone expects. Of course, the Commanders' front office isn't about to confirm anything publicly. They've been tight-lipped, offering the usual. "We don't comment on internal matters" response when pressed by reporters. That silence, however, can be just as telling as an official statement. Fans have noticed that the player believed to be involved was missing from a recent media availability, which only deepens the mystery. Absences like this often spark wild theories, especially when no injury has been reported. Is it a disciplinary benching in disguise? Is the front office working behind the scenes to facilitate a trade? In the high-stakes chess game of the NFL, timing is everything. And if Quinn has indeed decided he can no longer work with this player, the wheels might already be turning. This could be the type of story where one morning you wake up and the breaking news ticker confirms the worst suspicions. It's worth remembering that Dan Quinn came to Washington with a reputation for building cohesive locker rooms and maximizing defensive talent. His blueprint has always been about accountability, communication, and intensity. That's why this rumored blow-up feels so out of character and frankly so captivating for fans and pundits. If a coach like Quinn, who preaches unity, reaches the point of saying enough, it means there's a deeper story under the surface. Some former players who've worked with him have even chimed in anonymously, suggesting that Quinn has a line in the sand that, once crossed, leaves no room for reconciliation. If those whispers are accurate, then the Commanders could be heading toward a significant roster shakeup, potentially altering the team's chemistry heading into a crucial stretch of the season. And as history shows, moments like this can either rally a team together or send it spiraling. Meanwhile, fans are taking sides without even knowing all the facts. Some argue that if Quinn is putting his foot down, it's a sign of strong leadership. That you can't let one player, no matter how talented, undermine the team's goals. Others believe that star players often have strong personalities, and great coaches find ways to manage that fire rather than extinguish it. The truth is, NFL locker rooms are fragile ecosystems, and a single disagreement can ripple across the entire roster. The biggest question right now is whether this alleged confrontation was an isolated incident or part of a longer-standing pattern of tension. Social media polls, fan podcasts, and YouTube breakdowns are already turning this into one of the most talked about Commanders rumors in months. Until someone inside the building goes on record, we're left connecting dots and reading between the lines. Adding to the tension is the fact that the Commanders are in the middle of a schedule that offers no breathing room. Every game matters. Every snap counts. And internal distractions can be the silent killers of playoff dreams. If Quinn truly believes that removing this player is the only way forward, it's a gamble with both short-term and long-term consequences. A trade or release could send shockwaves through the locker room, making other players question their own standing. On the flip side, keeping a disgruntled player could poison team morale. That's the delicate balance every head coach faces, and Quinn knows the stakes. This isn't just about X's and O's. It's about the human dynamics that decide whether a team comes together or fractures under pressure. The Commanders have to tread carefully because one wrong move could define the rest of their season. And let's not overlook the possibility that this entire rumor could be a product of the NFL's endless drama machine. Sometimes a heated conversation is just that. A moment of frustration that gets blown out of proportion by eager onlookers and click-hungry media outlets. Quinn could very well be laughing this off behind the scenes, knowing that speculation fuels attention, and attention keeps the Commanders in the headlines. But even if that's the case, perception matters. The longer the team stays silent, the more people will believe there's something real here. In sports, as in life, narratives have a way of becoming reality if they're repeated enough. Whether this is a genuine fracture or just smoke without fire, it's clear that Dan Quinn and the Commanders have found themselves at the center of one of the juiciest whispers of the season so far. No matter how this plays out, the coming days could be telling. If the rumored player is suddenly back in the mix, laughing with teammates and participating fully in practice, fans might chalk this up to nothing more than a momentary flare-up. But if he's still absent, or if the Commanders make a surprising roster move, then all the speculation will feel justified. Dan Quinn has built his career on controlling the controllables, but the NFL is full of unpredictable personalities and high-pressure moments. Whether this is the start of a public unraveling or a minor bump on the road to a strong finish, one thing's for sure. Fans and media will be watching every detail. And until we get the full truth, the rumor mill will keep churning, feeding the endless appetite for drama that makes football more than just a game. It's a year-round story. Thanks for tuning in to District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.